All right, skinny Bengals drop one to the Lions at home, fall to 2-3 on the season. An ugly game for Jake Browning and the offense with three interceptions for him. Just quick, your thoughts on that game and what you saw out of Browning.
Yeah, it was poor play by Jake. I mean, the interceptions early were horrifying. We'll get to some of the good here in a little bit, which was the fourth quarter. But I thought it was interesting in the post game. Taylor pointed the finger at himself, says he needs to be a better play caller. He needs to be a better play caller early in the game, get us into better plays. And there's probably some truth to that. I mean, I think I've talked on this the last couple of weeks. I haven't liked the schematics of the first couple of halves. They felt very clunky. They felt very conservative. I didn't feel it was overly conservative today, but I also didn't see a lot of push the ball down the field early in the game, those type of things. And Jake left him hanging out to dry with a couple of just awful throws. I mean, he throws the ball way inside to Jamar Chase on an out route, throws the ball right to Alex Anzalone, the linebacker, for another interception, throws a kind of a jump ball to T down the field when she underthrew. I mean, these weren't like two tip balls and some guy got lucky and made the play of his life. These were three really bad interceptions that they threw. And at 28-3, I'll be honest, it felt like the season was sinking. It still doesn't feel good. I do think the fourth quarter gives you a little solace that they at least still know how to score. We can all argue it's prevent time and the Lions laid down and they did have I think a kid they just picked up off the street playing cornerback at the end of the game, all those things. But you got to hang your hat on something. And again, I'll give Zac a little bit of credit for pointing the finger inward. But now let's see the proof in the pudding, and whatever changes you have to make, let's go make them.
And yeah, before we talk about that fourth quarter, I wanted to bring up and get your thoughts on this. After the game, Zac Taylor talking about how they will assess all positions when he was asked about if he still has confidence in Jake Browning. What were your thoughts on hearing that from him? Was that something that you expected? Because he's talked about his unwavering support of Jake in the week since he started, since he took over for Joe when he got hurt.
Yeah, he said he made it clear he still believes in Jake Browning, and I thought that was important to at least to address that because that's going to continue to hang over this team and over Jake until Jake and they win a game together. The personnel part was interesting to me. Is he talking about defensive personnel,
Mhm.
which again, this defense left a lot to be desired. I know he praised them for some things, but and they did have some good moments against a really good offense, but they also had some bad moments. I'll touch on here in a second. But yeah, I mean, does that mean there's a shuffling coming again on the offensive line? I think it's all in play, to be honest with you.
All right, now let's get into some of the good before we talk a little bit more about the defense, like you brought up. That fourth quarter, Jamar Chase was looking like Jamar Chase again. We saw him break free on a deep ball. He seems like he's been a little contained at times, and finally we got to see the Uno that we all know and love. What did you like about that fourth quarter offense performance?
I mean, that catch along the sideline, the 15-yard catch where Jake scrambled, and honestly, I thought he was about
Mhm.
to throw his fourth
Yeah.
interception. In real time and real speed, as I'm watching, I thought there was no way he had enough body control to get his feet in and that be a touchdown. And somehow he did. And then you looked at the replay right away, and you're like, "This is gonna get overturned." Like, no, it's not. He got both feet in, and then yeah, breaking free on the deep ball, and it shows that they still can have some explosive stuff in them. He finishes 6 for 110, I believe it was, something along those
Mhm.
lines. So I think that's the thing you can hang your hat on a little bit. Again, I can't all of a sudden go, boy, that fourth quarter gives you a lot of hope for next week and the rest of the season. I don't think it does that, but it does show, okay, this team can still score some points. And I go back to this. I think Jake let it rip a little bit more in the fourth quarter. And I just think you're going to have to live with some of this. It just let him rip. I think when you play Jake conservative, you get off to these slow starts. You get off to these starts where he talks about, we're not finding any rhythm offensively. Well, you're not finding any rhythm because it feels like you're just being so darn conservative. And yes, I know it's hard to trust a guy who keeps throwing three interceptions in games, but I just think Jake's a lot better when you just let him rip it. And I thought the fourth quarter he did that. Again, I'm going to give the caveat that every fan's screaming at me now going, the Lions laid down a little bit. Sure, that's the NFL, that's human nature, but you got to hang your hat on something.
And even though they laid down, I think the last couple of weeks the offense has been in such a struggle that defenses have been able to just, they're coming up. There's no threat of a deep ball. If anything, it reminds defenses, yeah, Jamar Chase can take the top off of you. T. Higgins can go deep in. Maybe it was them laying down, but it at least tells defensive coordinators in coming games that that's still a concern for them. And
Yeah,
I don't know. I want to
along
get
those
your.
lines, real quick, Daniel, along those lines, I mean, that flea flicker play that Aiden Hutchinson blew up, and boy, he blew it
Mhm,
up all right. T. Higgins was wide open. So
mhm.
they would have hit another explosive play if Aiden Hutchinson hadn't blown that play up.
Absolutely. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I was talking about this on a podcast earlier this week, and we saw it a little bit there in the fourth quarter where they spread things out, let Jake go at it. do you think maybe a change in, they're going a lot of under center with him. They're doing a lot of things that maybe more so what Joe would do. Maybe go back to what Jake, did in his college days and things like that, spreading out the offense and just let him see everything in front of him. Do you think maybe it needs to be something like that to maybe get him going again?
Yeah, and listen, I think Jake is good under center when the running game is good. That
Hmm.
7 game stretch in 23, the running game was pretty effective, and that
Yeah.
allowed him to go under center, work the play actions, work the bootlegs. But I think with the running game not working, and it didn't work again today, that's the route you have to go. Is just let's do what we did with Joe a lot. Let's go in the shotgun. Let's put 4 receivers out there on a running back, or 3 receivers, a tight end, running back, and let it rip. And maybe again, that's the schematics that Zac has talked about. Of I need to do some things better from a play calling perspective, from a schematics perspective, better. And maybe that's what we're going to see moving forward. Is just what we can't run it. Why are we bothering to run it? I mean, you got to run it some. You know what I'm saying? But we're not. We can't hang our hat on it whatsoever. And the things that we wanted Jake to do from under center, which he did so well in 2023, aren't available to us for that. So let's just go back to spreading this thing out and slinging the thing around.
Yep. So now let's get into the defense, like you talked about. There were some good things with this defensive group today, and part of the struggles might be they were on the field a lot because of the turnovers, but there were some things that you didn't like out there, Skinny.
Yeah, I mean the first 2 drives, the second one ended in the fumble, the Trey Hendrickson caused when he hit Jared Goff behind, but they were driving in to score there, and maybe that turnover doesn't happen. They scored 2 touchdowns and go up 14-0. But those first 2 drives were really easy, and they allowed another big drive in the third quarter, 7 play, 80-yard drive. But the one that was disappointing to me was you got a little momentum back. Cut it to 28-17 with still over 10 minutes to go in the football game. And what does Detroit do? They go 8 plays, 68 yards, score a touchdown to take the lead back to 35-17. At that point, it's basically over. Again, I can't ask the defense to get a 3-and-out all the time, but that's a spot where the defense has to rise up and make a stand. And they absolutely didn't. They got owned in that drive.
Well, now the Bengals are 2-3 heading into Green Bay next Sunday. They've had their struggles as well. The last game against Dallas, but
And
it's
Cleveland.
still, yep, and Cleveland as well. Sorry, I was blanking out on that for a second, but I mean that's never an easy place to play in Lambeau over there. I know it's still Sunday night, but just what are your thoughts heading into that game?
Well, the last 2 times they've gone into a raucous atmosphere against a pretty good football team, it hasn't gone very well at all. Hopefully that won't be the case. Again, maybe you found something here today that allows you to stay in that game. Maybe even go steal a win there. I think that's a big ask at this point in the game. The one thing I'll agree with Zac in the post game, if you look at this division, there's a lot still ahead of them. Yeah, Pittsburgh's sitting on top and sitting pretty at the moment, but you still get to play them 2 more times. You still get Baltimore 2 more times, and they're reeling a little bit at the moment. You still get Cleveland, so you still have. If you can just hang in this thing, and you know, go to Lambeau and at least have a good showing, feel good about yourself. Like, okay, we're starting to make the steps back to what we think we are. Come home, beat Pittsburgh on that Thursday night. You got 2 winnable games before the bye. You get the 5-4 at the bye. Then you can take a deep breath and go, okay, we've kind of weathered the storm here. So, I mean, I would even say if you go to Lambeau and lose, it's not the end of the world, just as long as it's not another ugly loss.
All right, good to know. We'll continue to talk about that game throughout this week, but for now, Bengals 2-3 after a loss to the Detroit Lions. That'll do it for wrapping this one up. Thanks, Skinny.
Thanks, Johnny.